You love Peter Bukowski on a Thursday, but how about a crossover Wednesday with the most hated man in Detroit sports?
You are Locked On NFL Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome in, everybody. Locked On Lions, Locked On Packers, a special Wednesday edition of the Thursday crossover brought to you by Prize Picks. Matt Dery, Locked On Lions. Peter Bukowski, Locked On Packers. Heavyweight matchup coming up Thursday night at Ford Field. Packers are hot. They're 8-3. Lions, of course, have won 10 in a row. They sit at 11-1. I mentioned before. We're brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Pete, are you behaving yourself? What's happening right now?
When you said heavyweight matchup, I assumed you were talking about you and me on this episode. That's where I thought this was going. You got some mad fans who did not think that you were mean enough to me last time.
I know
that was very funny to me.
Am I supposed to just rip you? Like what are we doing here? You are.
Well, look, you have not been afraid at various points to say when you disagree with me, and I've always appreciated that. Because I've certainly said plenty of things that you've disagreed with, and that's okay. That's the fun of what we get to do. So, I mean, look, the Lions are really good. So I don't know what there is going to be that I'm going to make Lions fans angry about. But you know what, Matt? Sometimes I never know, and the thing that you don't think is going to hits. So, like a Lions linebacker going out of bounds. But
here we go. See, you're like Justin Fields. You're whining and crying about late hits. I don't know what. I mean, Brian Branch, and we disagreed on this. Brian Branch should not have been ejected in Green Bay. That was ridiculous. Now, fined, helmet to helmet, yes, okay, ejection. But now you got Nick Caserio, the Texans GM. He's comparing his cheap shot artist to Brian Branch. Come on, Pete, even that's a little over the top.
Okay, that was crazy. Azeez Al-Shaair is a recidivist when it comes to this stuff, but apparently now Brian Branch is too, which was not really part of what I thought was in the Brian Branch package. I thought that was a little strange that this year he's head down hitting people. Let me say this about that hit. It has long been a problem of mine with the way that the NFL treats helmet to helmet and unsafe contact. And so I have said forever, irrespective of Packers-Lions rivalries, they need to throw more guys out for unsafe hits. And so it's hard for me to have that position and say that was not, I thought that was an unsafe hit. And so if that's true, I'm fine with the ejection, but he's going to play this week. That's a really big deal because the Packers, they tried to attack him. They changed their game plan last time around. Jaden Reed and Christian Watson led the team in targets because they were trying to attack guys off the slot. I'm interested to see if that's going to keep up this week because the Packers are very much, as you know, week to week game plan driven, and they will try and find that weak link on your team and attack it. This week, to me, Matt, it's like, who's playing defense? I sent you a text before we started out here. Like, are you going to play defensive line as we record this? Like Levi Onwuzurike is hurt. Josh Pascal's hurt. DJ Reader's hurt. We don't know if they're playing possum a little bit or what, but already half the defense is on IR.
They're not playing possum. They're not. Onwuzurike and Pascal aren't going to play. I mean, Reader, let's hope if you're a Lions fan. But this is slim pickings. I mean, we're talking about Broderick Martin may have to be playing, and that's definite concern.
Lynn McNeil was a one-man wrecking crew the last time these two teams played, so that might be enough.
Oh yeah,
but I was so impressed with him, Matt. Like, he's someone that I've really liked his game, and I thought as a pass rusher he's gotten so much better. But if he's then the only guy that you have with Zadarius Smith, who I'm sure we'll get to that part of this, then I think that becomes tough, especially with the Packers who are going to be willing to come downfield and play a power run game if they want. That's troubling if you're a Lions fan, I think.
Tell me about the Packers and what's been working lately. The offense is humming, number 3 in the league. I know you're a big DVOA guy. I just look at yards per game and I go, it's Baltimore, it's Detroit, it's Green Bay. I mean, it looks like.
Pleased to know DVOA also has it Baltimore, Detroit, and Green Bay. Not in that order specifically, but it's the same 3 teams. And that the only thing that DVOA is different for those who are not super familiar with it is actually it's Baltimore, Buffalo, Detroit, Green Bay. Buffalo just snuck up in there. is it adjusts for schedule. That's all it does. That's the only difference. But this Packers offense, I think the last 2 weeks, Matt, encapsulate what they are capable of and what they're capable of being. 2 weeks ago against the 49ers, we are just going to run the ball at you 30 times. And we're going to show you every unique look and formation and pre-snap motion that we can think of. And Matt LaFleur, I think, has now evolved into the new Kyle Shanahan when it comes to the run game, where he is the best in the game at scheming up these explosive runs with non-traditional looks. And then against the Dolphins, they held Josh Jacobs in check on the ground. And so it's, all right, we're just going to throw to those guys. You're going to put a roof on everything and stop the run. And it's going to be check downs to Tucker Kraft, check downs to Josh Jacobs. Jordan Love played his most patient game of the season. And the difference Lions fans are going to see this week versus what we saw the last time these two teams played, the difference in Jordan Love since he's been healthy has been a huge storyline. His ability to move in the pocket, to escape the free rush. There's a great example in that Lions game in the red zone, the Dontavian Wicks drop in the end zone in the fourth quarter, 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
It was a killer.
It was a killer, but then you rewind to last week. Jordan Love escapes an all-out pressure look to his right, and he sort of 3/4 slings the ball on a dead sprint, and Jaden Reed sticks his paw out, makes a one-handed grab. It's a perfect throw. It's a great play. That's the difference in Jordan Love the last 3 weeks versus what we saw pre-bye when he's dealing with groin injuries, knee injuries. He's healthy now, and he's playing at a different level than we've seen him. And it's more in line with what we saw last year, Matt, and that's the good news for the Packers right now.
Well, you mentioned health, Pete. How much of Josh Jacobs now is just health and running behind a better line than he did and having a better coach? Or is it the LaFleur factor that he's unlocked something with Josh?
I mean, we've seen Josh Jacobs be really, really good, right? Like this is not novel that he would be a really good football player. He led the NFL in rushing 2 years ago. I think what is different from last year is he's engaged in a huge way. That was a toxic situation in Las Vegas last year for sure. It's the best offensive line he's ever played behind. It's the best quarterback he's ever played with. It's the best play caller he's ever had. And when they need to spell him, Emmanuel Wilson and Chris Brooks have been more than capable of coming in and making plays. Last week against the Dolphins, the Packers had 4 different players with explosive runs, 3 running backs and a receiver. Jaden Reed hit an explosive run as well. So they're so diverse in the run game, and that's what you have to be. This is a Lions team. I was going back and watching them in the red zone. There's so many times when you think you know what coverage they're in, and then all of a sudden you drop back and you go, oh bleep. They're not in that coverage anymore. And that answer that I thought I had is not there. Aaron Glenn is really, really good. Future head coach Aaron Glenn is really, really good at designing those sorts of disguises. And the Packers did have some good answers for it. It just, they didn't execute. And I think that has been the biggest thing in the run game is when they've executed on some of these plays, man, it is beautiful to watch. In the same way, frankly, that the Lions run game is pretty to watch. There are not that many run games. It's like Baltimore, Philadelphia, Detroit, and Green Bay, where you go, it's fun to watch this team run the ball. That's the list. And we get to see 2 of them on Thursday in a cold weather. Oh, wait, that's right. It's in a dome.
Zadarius Smith, by the way, and that's a good swipe. Zadarius Smith. Give me the story. So he's played against the Packers before when he went to Minnesota. He was very angry at LaFleur and Gutekunst years ago.
Yeah.
Is he over it, or do you think he's going to be like going crazy again this Thursday?
Oh, he was asked about the situation in Detroit. One of the reasons why he wanted to go to Detroit was to play Green Bay twice. One of the reasons why he wanted to go to Minnesota was to play Green Bay twice. He was very sour about the way all of that ended. And frankly, so are the Packers. That was a relationship that had gone sour in ways that I don't think a lot of people outside of Green Bay realize. And there are stories that I cannot tell about, not because they're too unseemly, but because I was told them off the record that detail that this was an ugly situation. And I think mistakes were made on both sides. I'm not saying this is Zadarius Smith's fault. He's a bad guy.
Yeah, he's great.
But that relationship went bad. And I think that you're going to see a motivated Zadarius Smith. They're going to move him around, but especially if DJ Reader can't go, he's going to have to play a big factor in this game, because this has been by a couple different metrics, the best pass protecting offensive line in the league so far. They kept him pretty clean, even when he couldn't move. the last time around. So that's going to be a big story in this game. If Jordan Love has time to throw, which he did on Thanksgiving last year, he kind of lit that Lions defense up. Now, this is a better Lions defense, but they had chances in that last game, and they couldn't hit them because they couldn't catch the ball. We'll see if that's a problem this time around when it's not a monsoon.
Exactly. Peter Bukowski, Locked On Packers. That's me, Matt Dery, Locked On Lions. Let's talk some Lions and get some storylines here. We're not talking injuries for 10 minutes, but other things. With Pete and Matt coming up on a Thursday crossover on a Wednesday. But first, this crossover of Thursday and Locked On Lions and Locked On Packers edition on a Wednesday. Also brought to you by our friends at Mint Mobile, big wireless providers. You know what you see. What you see is never what you get. Somewhere between the store and your first month's bill, the price you thought you were paying magically skyrockets. With Mint Mobile, you'll never have to worry about gotchas ever again, because with Mint Mobile, when they say $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan, they mean it. Say goodbye to your overpriced wireless plans and other jaw-dropping monthly bills and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNFL. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. And hey, Matt and Pete here for Prize Picks as well. Best place to get real money sports action. You know what to do. You just pick more than or less than on at least 2 player stat projections for your chance to win up to 100 times your cash. You run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action because you join over 10 million users. You sign up today. They also invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup that you pick is not perfect. You double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Pete loves Jordan Love. Is he going to throw for more than or less than 250 yards? You can put money on that on Prize Picks. Jahmyr Gibbs, is he going to run for more than or less than 1.5 touchdowns? You can do that at Prize Picks as well. It's very simple. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup at Prize Picks. Download the app. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get that $50 right away after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Peter Bukowski, Locked On Packers. Matt Dery, Locked On Lions. Thursday Night Football on Amazon, 8:20 Eastern, 7:20 Central for what should be a whale of a football game between the Packers and the Lions. Pete, as far as Detroit storylines, you and I touched on it in the open, but I mean, the amount of players that are out is ridiculous, especially on that Lions defense. Now, maybe the most important guys are still healthy. Liam McNeil, DJ Reader hopefully plays, Brian Branch, Terrion Arnold, Kirby Joseph, Jack Campbell, all really good football players, but it is going to be difficult for the Lions against this prolific Packers offense when there's just been so many guys out. But that's the thing that Aaron Glenn has done so well, FHCAG, is that he's schemed it up, man. And now Quan Alexander comes in, who's a pretty solid NFL linebacker that was injured, came back. Jamal Adams might play. Yes, he's alive and could play a hybrid Buda Baker-like role. I'm not as good as him, of course, but it's crazy. They're just throwing guys out there and it's working. Now, did they escape against the Bears the other day? As you pointed out on your Twitter, yes, but they won. So
they won. They get to keep the win.
Happens, but this is interesting.
It is all interesting. And look, the Packers, Keyshawn Nixon after the 49ers game, that's a banged up 49ers team that the Packers beat. Brandon Allen's out, all these guys out. And he said, look, we're not going to apologize for winning games with our players. We won 3 games without our starting quarterback. And so that was, we is his quote. And I'm paraphrasing, but I think no team at this point in the season is healthy, right? So every team is dealing with some version of this. The Lions defense, though, I mentioned, I said this in a piece that I wrote for The Leap. I said, if the line of too many injuries, if they haven't already crossed it, it's in view. They can see it. They can see the line. And they're getting close to it, I think. But Aaron Glenn he's met every challenge that has faced him this season. I'm floored by what he's been able to do defensively. Like I was looking at I love DVOA. They're the number 1 pass defense by DVOA, but they're 12th against number 1 receivers and 15th against number 2 receivers. How can that be possible? And it's just one of those things. Like they're able to get, they're really good against tight ends, which we'll see against Tucker Kraft. I think part of that is a Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph thing. They're not afraid to say, hey, just go cover that guy. And so I'm interested to see, like, how do you think against Jordan Love on turf, like this is going to be a heavy man coverage game? Are they going to stay in their looks here? Is this going to be a heavy blitz game? Like, what do you think the Aaron Glenn storyline here is going to be when we're talking on our Thursday post games, our Friday shows, like, hey, Aaron Glenn did this to Jordan Love?
I think he wants to keep this so close to the vest. And I just think, what he said when they picked up Alexander and the 2 Adamses and Jonah Williams from the Rams, he's like, we picked up players that we know that are just going to be not necessarily fitting the scheme or knows our plays. It's just they're physical players, they're aggressive players, and they're going to do that. I don't think he's going to send the house at Love this time. I think he feels like with his corners, and you and I have talked about this many times, a year ago, I'd be telling you, oh my gosh, I mean, Cam Sutton, Kindle Vildor, this is trouble. But with Arnold healthy, Carlton Davis healthy, and Amik Roberts.
Is Carlton Davis healthy?
Yeah, I think he'll play. Play. So that's a good sign. So my concern is the guys up front and the running and the run defense against Jacobs, as opposed to, I think the passing game, the corners are just better, and that makes Aaron Glenn look better. So I don't necessarily think he's going to just do all this blitzing and make it crazy.
The Lions offense, I have so much respect for Ben Johnson. I think he is an incredible designer of offense, to the point that it was actively annoying that he didn't take a job last year, because I was just like, okay, well, let's see how good a coach Dan Campbell really is. And I a couple of years ago was higher on Dan Campbell than you, for the record, before Lions fans get too mad at me.
Here we go.
No, it's not even a criticism of you. It's more just,
I
need Lions fans to understand where I'm coming from on this. But this offense has been able to say, we can do whatever we need to. If you're going to let us run the ball, we will run the ball 50 times. If that's what you give us. And then we're going to play action twice and hit 70-yard touchdowns, because that's what we do. The last time these two teams played, because it was a monsoon, Jared Goff, I think, attempted 1 pass over 10 yards, but Jameson Williams also didn't play. So how does Jameson Williams in this game, in your mind, change the way that you think Ben Johnson will approach calling this game?
Well, I think anytime you've got JMO on the field, you've got the threat, and I love, and they do this. Literally, I was sitting there at Thanksgiving with my brother, and they put Laporta in the backfield as a fullback, and I said, here comes a reverse to JMO, and it happened. I just know that they'd find a way to have him touch the football, and they did all right, certainly offensively against the Packers in the rain in that game, and moved the football well. And St. Brown with clutch catches, and like you mentioned, David Montgomery and Gibbs is unbelievable. But the addition of JMO for this game, and it's a great observation by you, the crossing routes, I think trying to catch Green Bay, you mentioned Keyshawn Nixon before, who's had some good games, and had some games where, Pete, I've watched your shows, you're ready to kill him. No, not really, but I think that could be something. JMO on a crosser could go the distance. I could see where that could play a factor. McKinney wants badly to win this game. He kind of talked a little trash before the last one. Maybe he gets a little over aggressive and misses on a play. So that's kind of where you bring Williams in. Sam Laporta has not been great this season. Had the 2 touchdowns last game.
What's the deal with that, by the way?
I just think the teams now have the book on him. He's going to find a way. He's a very good player. He's not been healthy all year either. I think there's been some mild injuries with him that I don't think he's the same. But I think this could be a game too where you kind of get him involved, like the Packers do with Kraft, and I think both tight ends could have big days on Thursday night.
Yeah, this is one of those where I think there's going to be a lot of like, what can we do matchup wise to make the other team most uncomfortable? As you sit here and think about this matchup, what is it that the Packers do offensively or defensively that would make you concerned. People will get mad about me using that word, but like the thing where you're like, okay, that is the biggest disadvantage that the Packers can create.
Well, I didn't think that it was a big upgrade in the offseason from Aaron Jones to Jacobs. And as I've watched Jacobs now, I'm like, wow, he runs people over. And I think it was difficult to do. I think it was the first drive of the game in Green Bay where he went right down the field, and then it never happened after that.
Yeah.
I think this could be a game, especially if, like you mentioned, what if Reeder is not 100%? What if Broderick Martin and Jonah Williams have to play instead of Onwuzurike? And they're going to line up Zadarius Smith inside at times. What if Jacobs kind of keeps the Lions offense off the field with his ground game? He is, like I said, I didn't think, getting rid of AJ was the move. And boy, I was wrong. Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones has been good in Minnesota, but man, Josh Jacobs to me looks like a man possessed right now. So I would watch for that for sure.
Yeah, I was trying to find a reason to look at this defense. I was trying to find a split that made me go, okay, this is where they can, this is the spot. This is the spot. No, this is the spot. It doesn't exist, Matt. Like, this is just a really, really, really good defense, despite not having really good personnel. And I kind of don't know how they're doing it. And it's remarkable. You watch the tape and just like, yeah, no one's open, or they get the right disguise at the right time. And like the future head coach, Aaron Glenn thing, it's not a bit anymore. Like, this guy's going to be a head coach next year, because he is, I would say, finally given me a reason to go, that guy, I am just sort of enthralled watching him get the most out of guys. This is going to be his biggest test though, right? Like to get something out of this group with all the guys, all the linebackers. I mean, Matt LaFleur loves to toy with linebackers. Ben Johnson is pretty good at it too, to just say, okay, you're going to get fooled on play action, or you're going to overcommit on the run going this way. We're going to come back across your face, and it's going to be a big play. This is, I think, going to have to be Aaron Glenn's best game.
I would say this is the biggest test. And then next week with Josh Allen, don't forget the Bulls come in here too. So that's back-to-back weeks where the Ezekiel Turners and David Longs of the world, do they get exposed as, look, they're just not Alex Anzalone, and they're just not Derek Barnes, and they're just not Rodriguez, who's had a really good year, and you lose a little bit of something. These were guys that were, on the practice squads of other teams recently. So it's a good point. And the next 2 weeks are going to be a big test, certainly for Aaron Glenn. All right, coming up next, let's get some keys and some predictions. Locked on Lions, Locked on Packers. A little crossover on a Wednesday. And as always, we love to talk to you about our friends at FanDuel, #1 sportsbook. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with our friends at FanDuel, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives everything you need to place live bets in the NFL all in one place. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets, all at FanDuel.com. Go there right now. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Peter Bukowski, Locked on Packers. Matt Dery, Locked on Lions. Ford Field, Thursday night for Detroit and Green Bay. Give me some keys, Pete. What are you looking at that will make the Packers split this season series?
The key to me is turnovers. If the Packers win the turnover battle, and in this case, that means forcing a turnover from this offense, it is everything against this Detroit Lions team. When they turn the ball over, they are 16 points per game worse than when they don't. They average 40 points per game when they don't turn the ball over. That is an absurd statistic. Now, that's also colored by the fact that, they turn the ball over a billion times against the Texans and still won, right? Like, they can win even when that happens. But the Packers are not the Texans. They're a better football team. Jordan Love is a better quarterback than CJ Stroud. I don't know what other evidence you need to see. Watch the games, please. But that's the key to me, because I threw this out on social media, on Blue Sky, on Twitter. I posted the box score, and I said, from the last game, and I said, tell me who you think won this game. And the overwhelming response was the team on the left, which was the Lions, by a touchdown. Now they win by 10, right? But the narrative was that was a blowout, that was a domination, that the Packers were down 3 scores into the fourth quarter. And that the last part is of course true, but it was the one turnover that became a touchdown that really decided the game. That's the difference in the game. And so
that was a killer.
If you don't do that, the Packers held the Lions defense or the Lions offense to 17 points, under 5 yards per play. I understand it's a monsoon, but who runs the ball on opponents when they're up better than the Lions? No one.
No one.
So, and the idea that they took their foot off the gas when they throw halfback passes and they're throwing, like they ran Penei Sewell on a reverse pass last week, Matt. The idea that they would take their foot off the gas against the Green Bay Packers when Amon-Ra St. Brown wears a Green Bay Sucks t-shirt to the arena.
Yes.
Give me a break. The Packers defense played really well in the second half of that game. They kept them in it. I think that the turnover piece of this, if they can just create one and don't turn the ball over, that's the key to me. What about you?
First of all, that Green Bay Sucks t-shirt, I did say on my show that night that shirt was kind of lame because it was misspelled.
Yeah, Green Bay is 2 words, guys.
Correct.
Just so we know.
Correct.
And we do need to mention Xavier McKinney was asked about that at his locker yesterday. He said, we're not worried about Amon-Ra St. Brown, or he said, we're not worried about that dude. I don't think he meant like we think that guy sucks. No. I think what he meant is we're not worried about him trash talking. We're not worried about what t-shirt he's wearing. Like we're focused on the game. And that is true, Matt. I have to just give your audience a little bit of insight here. I've mentioned this on our show. This Packers team, by all accounts, in that locker room this week is locked in. They are dialed to this matchup. And so they truly are not worried about any of the external stuff. They are focused on winning a football game. This is a business trip to Detroit. And I think that is part of this too. You have to meet, if you want to beat the Lions, you have to meet their focus and their precision, because right now this is the most focused and precise team in the league. A credit to Dan Campbell and those coordinators. I stepped on your key. Please give it.
Well, no, 2 things. Number 1, red zone defense, which we talked about before. The Lions have been so good.
Elite. Yep.
They're holding the Packers to field goals.
1 for 4 in the last game, the Packers in the red zone scoring touchdowns.
Yeah. Well, they were all split. I mean, the Dolphins never win in the I actually was dumb enough on our Locked On NFC show last week, which we missed you, by the way. I said something like, I think the Dolphins finally do it. I was like, that was the dumbest prediction of all. That's number 1. So
at the end of the first quarter, you're like, crap.
I know. And then number 2, remember this name, Al-Qadin Muhammad. Many people don't know who that is. All right. But they're going to need him to rush the passer, because I think the Packers are going to know where Zadarius Smith is. Yep. Lee McNeil is who he is. He's amazing and a beast. But they need some pass rush from Muhammad like they got last game, just off the edge, because of all the guys that are gone, all the guys that are hurt. Sounds like Pascal's not going to play. So Muhammad becomes a guy that has to game wreck a little bit, because if Jordan Love has time and was comfortable a year ago at Ford Field at Thanksgiving, Lions couldn't touch him last Thanksgiving, and he lit him up. So those are 2 big things for me: is holding Green Bay to field goals and getting some pressure on Love. Muhammad will be key to be one of the guys that does that. So
the red zone defense is if it was not going to be turnovers, that was going to be mine, because I mentioned that 1 for 4. I wrote about this earlier this week for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for everyone to subscribe to, that if you look at what happened in those red zone trips, the Packers miss Chris Brooks wide open on an angle route. Jordan Love, passes a little behind him. Josh Jacobs probably makes that catch. He might walk in for a touchdown. They have to settle for a field goal. Then Jordan Love misses Christian Watson on a first down play. And then Elton Jenkins throws the ball at Jordan Love's feet. The backup, he's the guard that had to play backup center. They have to settle for a field goal. And then Dontavian Wicks on 3rd and 1 drops the pass. They go for it on 4th down. And Josh Jacobs gets stopped. That's the game. That's the whole game is those 3 possessions in the red zone. And I think the Packers are going to have a better plan this time around. I don't think they're going to drop, depending on where you look, 8 passes. They had 4 dropped 3rd downs alone that would have given them first downs. I think you're going to see a focused Packers team. And I think this is going to be much like last year where these 2 teams split. I don't think there's that big a difference. Especially right now with the way the defense is. I think this is like a 27-24 kind of game, a 30-27 kind of game. And I think Green Bay gets it done. I think they have the right mindset. And this is I think it's gonna be a really, really good game, a potential classic here coming on Thursday night.
I'll say this: Kirby Joseph will get an interception. You know, he always makes a play against Packer quarterbacks. Doesn't matter who they are.
He sure does. Packers might have to bring in Malik Willis just to avoid it, just to see if they can switch the juju up.
I'm going to surprise some people here. I'm going to take Green Bay.
Wow.
And I know it's coming, and I know the commenters on YouTube, and I know Peter Bukowski haters are going to go, "Oh my God." The Lions are really good, and I still think they're the better team. I think they're better than the Packers, but I think this is a lot to overcome. Another short week, 3 games in 12 days, a lot of guys out. You mentioned Tucker Kraft and LaFleur loving to eat linebackers for lunch, and if it's David Long and Ezekiel Turner and Jamal Adams playing linebacker when he's never played linebacker before, I'm a little hesitant this week. I'm actually going to agree with you. Oh boy. And I'm going to say something like 34, 31.
If someone from Locked On or Titan is listening, can we make sure we get this clip?
I even wore the shirt. I mean, come on. I got the swag and everything. So yeah, I think Green Bay squeaks it out. I think it could be like a 34-31 type of thing, but I know what I will be at Ford Field too. So I know what's coming when I get there. Just be nice when you see me, everybody.
I think what's going to happen, and I predicted this before, one of these fan bases is going to be furious that they didn't win this game. I think it's going to come down to 1 or 2 plays at the end. And I think the problem for the Lions is their defense is so banged up. And when Aaron Glenn, his whole thing is, you know, we can disguise and we can play fundamentally sound and all that stuff. The more you switch out pieces, that continuity it gets really, really hard. And the Packers are not having that issue right now. Jair Alexander has practiced for 3 straight days. Romeo Doubs has practiced 3 straight days. They're getting healthy at the right time. The Lions are going the other direction for teams that are pretty evenly matched. And I agree with you. The Lions, when they're fully healthy, are probably the better team. They're not fully healthy. So you have to play the game with the team you have. You got to dance with the girl that brung you, right? So I think that's ultimately why the Packers get this win. And we'll see in January if these two teams get a chance to do this again. I hope you and I get to do one more of these.
I have a weird feeling you guys are going to end up like the 6th seed or something, and then
divisional round.
And then obviously the lowest seed faces the 1 seed. And if the Lions are the 1 seed, and I think they will be, we could be doing this all over again at Ford Field. We got to get you to Ford Field. What do you think? Can we make this happen?
Let's try. Let's try.
Call David Locke, call Ross Jackson. Let's
David,
go.
Are you listening?
All right, my friend. Well, all the best. It's been great to see you. You've behaved again. We haven't fought. Nothing's happened. So we'll see what happens. Just stop with the trolling.
I won't. I will not.
Jeez. I mean, come on.
Lions fans are much harder to troll, I will say, than Vikings fans. Much easier to troll Vikings fans, Bears fans.
Here's another thing we can agree on. We got to keep Ben Johnson out of Chicago.
Yes. Well, they're not going to pay Ben Johnson. There's nothing about their history says that they are going to foot them. I said recently, I think if Ben Johnson wants the John Gruden, but half, like 5 years, 50, I think he'll get it. Kyle Shanahan? I think Kyle Shanahan gets like $14 million a year. I think he could ask for that. I think he could ask for 4 years, 60 from someone, and I think they'd pay it, but it's not going to be in Chicago.
It's funny. Kevin Warren the other day, and he's a bit of a clown, said, "Oh, we're going to have the best job this offseason." What if Todd Bowles gets fired? That Tampa job's good. Like there's going to be some good jobs out there, better than the Bears job. The Bears never do any. See now the Locked On Packers people are going, "Oh, I love this Matt Dery guy with the Bears."
Hey, Locked On Packers people have always loved you, Matt Dery. It's me. I'm the most hated man in Detroit. So.
All right. Well, there he is, Peter Bukowski, everybody. Maybe still the most hated man in Detroit. We'll find out after we post this podcast, but it's been a Thursday crossover on a Wednesday. Lions and Packers, of course, brought to you by Prize Picks.